Keith, thank you so much for those sweet words. I'll let him come out and play. Are you kidding me? You think I can control him? You saw what the ladies had to do to try to clean him up. That's the story of my life. He never leaves the cap on water bottles. It drives me crazy. We have water bottles spilling all over the house, in the car, you name it. No, life with him is never boring. And it's wonderful being with you guys. We love you from the bottom of our hearts, truly. Andy, I want to commend you also for what you do, for all of the people in this room. I know that many of you are not in Andy's hierarchy, right? California, England, wherever. And yet he invites you and he organizes all of this. And I know this is the way we did business in the old days. You did whatever you could do to help a teammate if you were part of their hierarchy or not. Bobby and Red do this all the time in their bar, and come if you want to come. It's a tradition, and you've carried it on. Thank you. It's great. Okay. Art told me, back to the Vimeos, I want to say this. The best thing here in these Vimeos is me seeing my handsome husband young again. Isn't he good looking in a tuxedo and a white jacket? And I look at Bob Miller and Bobby Buisson and all of these young folks. We have some good looking folks in this company. Really, and some beautiful women too. Wow. Okay. Art wanted me to share with you today my impressions of what he's talking about. He said, tell him how we did it. And I said, are you kidding me? He says, well, tell him what you think was important for our success. And I've been thinking about this, and the other day I asked him what he was talking about, because everything's new. He's got all these books and he's got all these stacks of paper, and I knew that he was doing something different. So I said, what are you talking about? I want to be able to compliment what you're talking about. He says, I'm just doing the same old thing. I said, no, I don't think you are. I said, let me tell you what I'm thinking about, and you tell me if it's something good or not, or whether I should change it. He stole half my talk. He does that. Bobby, you know that. If he hears you speak and you say something that he thinks brilliant or great or cute, or if it gets a laugh, it becomes his. He's a smart man. He's a smart man. But anyway, I had to go back and kind of tweak a few things that I wanted to share with you today. But, you know, from my perspective, he's an amazing coach. I've said that he was the best coach in the world. As good as he is in business, he was even better as a coach. And as a wife, it was wonderful to watch him coach and build football teams. Well, he's built a team in the company. That was A.L. Williams. That was his team. And when I started thinking about teamwork and what it means to build a team, one of the things that I think made us stand out and be successful above things in the past, that's why no other company has probably followed in our footsteps, is that we started our team at the home first. We looked at husbands and wives and what was going on at the home. Art and I were a team. We did life together. And we had different roles, because I saw myself first as his helpmate, his wife, the mother to our children, and then a homemaker. Now, I had an education. I had a master's degree. I taught school for 7 years, and I had ambitions to do things too. But we shared in what our goals and dreams were. We argued about it a lot, you know, and we had to come to a conclusion on who was going to win the argument. And I would love to say it was me, but I don't think so. I think I had to kind of follow along behind him. Can you imagine me leading him very far? That would be a hard task. But anyway, we were a team, and we saw the importance of that. And we also grew up in the 40s and 50s. Life was different then. My mom stayed at home. His mom stayed at home. Our fathers worked. And I loved watching my mother and how she took care of my dad, and how she laid out his clothes in the morning, she rose before anybody else. She was truly a Proverbs 31 woman. And she did, she took care of the money, she took care of the house, she took care of the cars, she took care of repairs, and I watched her do that. And I grew up with that as an example. And then the women in those days were all Martha Stewarts. Truly, there were china on the table. There were flowers on the table. The menus were unbelievable. They cooked. Art left school for school every day eating homemade pie or homemade cake. You know, and families had breakfast together and they had dinners together, and it was kind of an idyllic life and it really wasn't. There was no such thing as a perfect family, a perfect, you know, husband, wife, parent, whatever. But from our perspective, it was wonderful, and I loved what I saw. I loved what I grew up with, and I wanted to emulate that for my family. So those were priorities that we had. And Art's mother was always famous for saying this. She had sayings kind of like Art, and you heard them over and over and over again. And one of the things she said was, being a wife, mother, and homemaker is a full-time job. And if you do it well, it really is. It's hard work. And my role changed over the years based on three things. Our income. When we weren't making much, I was cleaning the toilets, mopping the floors, doing the groceries, helping make clothes for the children, doing whatever needed to be done. That changed over the years as our income improved. The second thing was that my role depended on the ages of our children. When you have a lot of little kids at home, that's kind of where you need to be. And we had lunch recently with the Quigleys, Mary and Kevin, and their two daughters. And the oldest, her husband just came back from the Miami trip, and they have 4 kids, 2, 4, 6, 8. She homeschools. She's at home. He's an RVP working in the business. So everybody's home life and home situation is a bit different, but you do what works best for you and your family wherever you might be in life at the moment. And then the third thing, which was the hardest, was doing what Art wanted. Doing what he wanted me to do, because that was constantly changing, and I'm not a very flexible person, I admit. And so when he comes and says, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I said, are you kidding? I said, I can't do that. Oh, yes, you can do that. But anyway, we argued. I didn't step in line. I was not the obedient spouse, you know, that you're supposed to be all the time. I was a difficult sale. But he put up with me, and we worked life together, and we still are trying. Now, Art got me into the office when he moved to Atlanta full time, and y'all have heard my story, and that was basically a turning point for me. To get in there, to see what, I didn't know what he was doing part-time. I knew we were making some money, and we were putting money away, and that was wonderful. But I didn't understand the buy term, invest the difference concept like I should. I got in the office and I learned. I said, dadgummit, we're doing wonderful things for the consumer. I can't believe this. And so he made a big sale teaching me things and me hearing things. And then I heard him say to people that he recruited, you do this, you do that, and I'll help you. That's a pretty big responsibility. And I felt some of the same obligation he felt, because I grew to love those people and know those people. They became friends. So then I said, okay, you're out every night, but I know what you're doing, and this is great. You know, and I became a teammate to him in a different way. Now, he got me in the office using 3 words. It wasn't, I love you. He said, I need you. And then he followed that up with lots of compliments. You notice how great he is at giving compliments? Oh, you're so good at this, Angela. You are so good at that, and you can make a huge difference. And I heard that repeatedly. It's kind of a little bit of his OCD issue. Over and over again, I heard it. And after a while, I said, you know, he says he needs me. And he was sincere about it. He also couldn't afford a secretary. I was real cheap. But anyway, I got into the office based on how I always said, he's the master manipulator of the universe. And I have been his target practice for how many years? 58 years, whatever it is, a long time. But he's brilliant, and if you don't study him in this regard, you're crazy. He's a brilliant motivator, and he gives praise and compliments to people in the most unbelievable way, and it's sincere. You can look at that little round face and those blue eyes, and you know that he loves you. And the way he hugs you, you know that he cares about you. And he says the most important thing he did last night, and the most fun thing, was watching him talk about people and giving them t-shirts, right? I mean, you need to be better. We all need to be better at that. And I think he's been the master of that. So anyway, be a motivator as he is. Teamwork at home. We realized that this had to occur in everybody's home that we recruited for them to be successful. It's going to be very hard to be successful if you don't have that support that you need, whatever it might be, at home. And we sensed that, and so we got involved with passing the message on to the spouses and to the families and trying to have them see the model that we were trying to set for them to live by, saying this is the best thing to do, this is the best way to do it, let's get the partners in there, and if nothing else, for them to just say, you have my blessings. I understand what you're doing and I give you my blessings. That would be the least, but that could be the most important thing that happens. Now, when we were doing this in the early days, we were young, we were in our 20s and 30s, we were raising children, raising babies, and trying to build the business at the same time. I look at the company, I look at the years we spent in the company, and I look at all of the dynamic couples, and you start thinking about them and naming them, those in your organization, those that meant a lot to you as role models. And there was a strength there that was really unbelievable. And one reason this has not been duplicated in other companies is because nobody believes that the spouse is important. They have meetings, and only the people that represent the company at a management level or sales level, they're taken on trips, they're brought into meetings, but they would never think of inviting the spouse to sit in, to listen and learn. So that's one reason this has not been duplicated, I believe, in my heart. I mean, no company even hires relatives because they look at it as nepotism. And we don't believe that. We think the stronger the family is united in whatever it is the goals are, the better for the business. I'm just grateful that Art wanted me to be a part of his life in business and that he's dragged me along at times. I'm glad that he pushed me to be involved with the partners, because those have been some of the richest experiences I've had in life, truly. And I'll try not to get emotional here. The second thing that came to mind about how we've impacted the success of the company, how as a group we impacted the success, has to do with building personal relationships. And I know this is an old topic and everybody talks about it and everybody shares ideas on how to do this best. While Art was doing this in the field, I was trying to do it with the spouses. And he spent hours with managers and reps in the office, and he spent hours with them. They'd go to lunch together. He'd spend hours out on field training calls with them. And we were trying to do the same thing with bringing the families together. This is a people business, folks. If you don't know that, you're in the wrong place. If you don't care about people and you are not interested in being with people, then you need to find something else to do, because this is a people business and you cannot place too much importance on building personal relationships. And I think building personal relationships is one of the most enjoyable things we have in this business. I mean, to spend time with each other, to be in each other's homes, to have parties together, to celebrate birthdays, to celebrate promotions, to go on trips together. We've spent hours in cars, on planes, on trains, in hotels, you name it. Shopping, having fun things to do together. I mean, that was the funnest part of the business. And it's wonderful. It also can be very difficult. This is the second reason I think that companies have not tried to copy what we do. It's hard to build personal relationships. It takes time, for Pete's sake. You can plan a meeting, an event, a retreat in a fraction of the time, but if you start bringing 3 or 4 more people around the table to get involved in the planning and all this, I mean, it just takes forever. But you miss out on the teamwork. You miss out on the experience of working together and making decisions together. I know that there were times in the company when I was dealing with the partners organization, I delegated so much. It was unbelievable. I'd sometimes work with 30 women to do that, and I'd call them up, and guess what I'd say? I wouldn't say I love you. I said what? I need you. Please, I need you. And you know, I would bring them into whatever was going on, and then I would thank them and make them know that I really appreciated what they were doing. But building personal relationships is really key. It's time consuming. It's also messy. You open yourself to dealing with all their problems. Their marital problems, their financial problems, their problems with kids, their problems with decisions they're making. Now, when you have a small team, that's not hard. You know, 20 or 30 people, you can handle that. But when you have 10,000 friends, and they write you 10-page letters of all the things that are going on in their life, please help me, I need this, or I need that. We got to a point in the company where we had to start a family and marriage ministry to help us deal with that, because we were they had our address, and a lot of them had our phone numbers, and they knew how to track us down. So, you know, this is a very important thing for you to do, but it's a very difficult thing. It requires so much of you to build relationships the way that you should. But I have to say, after the 30 years, whatever it's been, I'm so grateful for the friends that we have that mean so much to us. I wouldn't give $1 million for the times I've spent with Red Weisson in the office, stuffing envelopes. You know, in cars. I remember one night we went into Atlanta, she needed chairs for her house. And we went to an auction. And we were in their old car that was probably 100 years old. And we're driving back, we have all these chairs on top of the car. And all of a sudden we see a blue light. It was about 11:30 at night. And we pulled over to the side, and Red says, I don't have my driver's license. So we're flipping seats, you know. And we were flipping seats. And I rolled the window. By that time, here comes the policeman, and we make up. I show him my driver's license, and I said, we just came from an auction, and we're taking these to home. We live in Selva, blah, blah, blah. But we've laughed about that. And the times we spent together, you know, Bobby and Red had 4 kids, and they were like, da-da-da-da-da. There's one right after another. And my kids were in school. Every time we did something, we were dragging along a couple of her babies because she was nursing. And I finally told her, and I've heard her say this, I don't remember saying this, but I probably did. I hear that she's told everybody that I told her, if you have any more children, you cannot be my friend. And I probably said that, but we loved each other. Our daughter babysat for her kids all the time so that we could go to meetings together or do whatever. But, you know, the relationships that you have and the friendships that you make when you're building personal relationships the right way, it just means everything. And you carry it for the rest of your life. I'm thankful for the friends I have in this room. There are a lot of other things that impacted the success that we had. The adversity Art talked about. I mean, we would sit at home like this, we'd be in prayer, we'd be thinking, we'd be worried, and we knew all these guys were down at the insurance office, you know, thinking that somebody's going to get their license revoked, or all of them are going to get their license revoked. But what it does, it bonds you, and it just absolutely fuels your passion. And the reason that it fueled our passion, my passion and Red's passion, did I do something there? I'm okay. Was because we believed in the business the way they did, you know, and we were that committed to it. So it fueled our passion as well. We've also, I think, we also developed a passion that went further and deeper than even that. Changing the life insurance industry was a huge, huge goal and a huge, huge dream and a great passion to have, to right the wrong that had been established for years in the insurance industry. But even greater than that was to see what was happening in the lives of families. We had something that went around the company for a few years called A.L. Williams Will Change Your Whole Life. You remember that? A.L. Williams will change your whole life. And we had seen it, you know, families getting out of debt, families saving money, families improving their home, buying a new home, or moving into a better neighborhood, putting their kids in better schools, being able to help their parents when they needed help, being able to handle medical emergencies, starting churches or ministries, and watching the thing. They'd get up at the microphone and they would say, if it weren't for this business, we wouldn't be doing this. And this is what we're doing, which is fulfilling a dream of our life. And we didn't even have this dream when we started. But this dream materialized because we had the ability to do things that we couldn't do earlier. And we would see them do that. And folks, I'm telling you, it's important for you to have personal success, but it's much more enjoyable. And it means so much more when you see those people around you have amazing success. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And I'm grateful for the privilege we've had to witness that in the years we were in A.L. Williams. I wrote down a few other things, but I'm running out of time. Art's commitment and the integrity of the people to do things right morally meant a lot, I think, to the success that we had in the company. His ability not to get sidetracked, distracted, but to stay focused. Most people get bored doing the same thing over and over again. They get bored and they want to add this and add that and go off here. We had this business, let's add this. But Art didn't. He stayed focused and he knew what he needed to do, and he didn't get involved in a lot of other things. He didn't major in minors. He majored in the majors. And he had goals, as he said, that were simple, easy to understand. They were general in that everybody could relate to it. If he had said, well, my goal is to learn to play the oboe, there wouldn't be many people standing behind him wanting to do that or join him. But his goals were needed, and they were good for the middle America out there, so there were hundreds of thousands of people that we never recruited that would respond to the goals that we had set as a company. He set personal priorities for us, and he also hoped that it would be the priorities for the company, and that they would put God first, family second, and business third. We didn't live by that standard all the time, but it was a goal that we had set for us, and it was something that we hoped that others in this company would emulate as well. And lastly, he persevered. He didn't quit. I said I would have quit a million times just facing the problems that he faced, but he didn't. He never quit. He never really had talked about quitting. Even when he said he was going to quit or start, A.L. Williams starting a company, he never mentioned that at home. He knew he couldn't quit around me. I was not going to let him quit. We had too much invested in it. We had too many people that we loved that were looking to him for leadership. It was hard, and I know I probably would have quit long before that, but he never quit. You have to remember he got fired. So, if I had to analyze the success that we had, probably the most important reason that we had success in this company is that the Lord's hand was on the company. That God's hand was on Art Williams. First of all, the protection there was unbelievable. And we're just so grateful and thankful for that. He brought us people that we never knew anything about. Like he said, all these people that came onto the company said he didn't even know who they were. He opened doors that no man could shut, and he shut doors that we tried to pry open, but thank goodness we didn't get them open. So it's just been an amazing experience to see how God has provided so much in our lives. When you think of success, you think sometimes of the worldly success, which is who you are, who you know, your sphere of influence, and how much you have, what you accumulate. The houses, the cars, the savings accounts, the trips, whatever it is that you have as a goal. And there's nothing wrong with having those things. But you have to keep that in perspective, because that is not the biblical definition of success. And I saw a quote from John Wooden recently, you know, the famous coach, who is also a committed Christian. He says, success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction and knowing that you did your best to become the best that you were capable of being. So it's peace of mind and self-satisfaction, knowing that you are the best, you've been the best, you've done your best, and become the best that you're capable of being. We've been given talents. We all have talents. They're different. We've been given spiritual gifts as a believer. And if we use those to not honor ourselves all the time, but to honor the Lord, then we are a success if we do that consistently. I'm going to close by reading the lyrics of one of Bob Dylan's songs. Now, you might be shocked to know that I'm a fan of Bob Dylan. I was brought up with classical music, piano and clarinet and things, and I love all kinds of music. Art hates Bob Dylan. Just to let you, he plays country all the time. He says it has a story. But I said, but what's the message? What is the message here? He likes the stories, but he doesn't understand the difference between story and a message. Bob Dylan has messages. And you may not know this also, that he won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2016. And that puts him in the company of T.S. Eliot and Ernest Hemingway and William Faulkner and all of those great American writers, plus a host of international writers that I don't know anything about. The scope of his work is unbelievable. He's written 365 songs. And not like Elton John, who has a lyricist that sends him the lyrics and he writes the music, Bob Dylan does both. He writes the poetry, and then he puts it to music maybe as he goes along. I don't know how he composes. It's a mystery, I'm sure. But from Amazon, I ordered his book of lyrics. Of these 365 songs, it's like a desk drawer. It's this big and it's this thick. It's beautifully bound, and the poetry in there is unbelievable. Well, I became a fan of his in the early 80s after I heard Slow Train Comin', which was one of his Christian CDs that he wrote in the late 70s. He wrote Slow Train Coming, he wrote Saved, and he wrote Shot of Love. And the lyrics and the poetry and the music is absolutely beautiful. And I want to read one of the lyrics. It's called A Satisfied Mind. How many times have you heard someone say, if I had his money, I'd do things my way? But little they know, it's so hard to find one rich man in 10 with a satisfied mind. Once I was waiting in fortune and fame, everything I dreamed of to get started in life's game. But suddenly it happened. I lost every dime. But I'm richer by far with a satisfied mind. When my life is over and my time has run out, my friends and my loved ones, I'll leave there, ain't no doubt. But one thing for certain, when it comes my time, I'll leave this old world with a satisfied mind. God bless you.